How's it going, guys? Welcome to another Hunt Fish New England podcast. Today we have on Dan Kenney. He's the man behind the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, the New England Fishing Expo, and the Northeast Swimbait Expo. We cannot thank Dan enough for everything he's done for us, not just for putting on the expos, but for encouraging us and assisting us in becoming a vendor at his expos. We've made great connections because of that, and for that, we're forever grateful to Dan. And you'll see that in Dan's story. He supported lots of people in the outdoor industry here in New England. So without further ado, let's meet Dan, the man behind the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. New England is home to some of the most iconic hunting, fishing, and conservation opportunities in the world. Striped bass, whitetails in the big woods and suburbs, native brook trout, Maine moose, and the list goes on. Alongside these opportunities is a world-class, local-driven outdoor industry that is honed into the unique needs of New England hunting and angling. The Hunt Fish New England podcast brings you the men, women, and lore behind this region's incredible outdoor industry. This is hunting. This is fishing. This is New England. All right, everybody, welcome to another Hunt Fish New England podcast. Today we have a very special guest. This is Dan Kenney, the man behind the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo, the Northeast Swimbait Expo, and the Northeast Fishing Expo.
New England Fishing Expo.
New England Fishing Expo.
But that's okay. We already had that one. That was the last week of January in Boxborough. So, and now we're on to the New Hampshire one, which is March 10th through the 12th at the Hampshire Dome. And then the Swimbait one is the last one that I do. I do 3 a year, and that's the one that's March 18th and 19th at the Sturbridge Host Hotel. But, yeah, I've been running the trade shows for a while now and tried them in different states, and those are the 3 that I run now.
All right. And a big message for this podcast is to support local business, to support American jobs, and you've been doing that for years through the expos.
Oh, absolutely. It's a really a good time. It's a great feeling when you see smaller mom-and-pop companies and even some mid-sized companies that are able to come to the expos, and it helps them get a good return on the year. Gives them an opportunity to make that extra, whether it's be 5, 10, 30K, whatever it might be, from doing trade shows. And also in the winter months, they may be a business that is not selling too many fishing or hunting items or camping or kayaks and boats and that type of stuff, everything that you expect at an outdoor show. So they get to drum up a little bit of sales by going to the shows. Yeah.
And also for the end user, who people coming to buy the products and attend, it's a good cabin fever reliever. That's what it's been like for me.
Yep, cabin fever. That's why we do the shows. And it's funny because people will ask that question often. You know, you'll get the, why don't you do it in May or June or July? And it's like, well, because we're outdoorsmen, and I wouldn't go to a trade show in the middle of summer. We're out doing things.
Yeah, we're fishing.
So,
good
so
point.
that's why. So we do it, January, February, March, pretty much anywhere in the Northeast. That's trade show season. And it's for that reason, to get people in the doors, get them Jones in a little bit, cabin fever, and then they're picking up their stuff for the spring.
And going to different vendors, whether it be, any of those shows or just talking over social media. A lot of people have said, hey, you got to talk to Dan Kenney. And I'm like, I'll talk to him eventually. Yeah. And, I heard the name for years, and then we started the podcast up this year. I had reached out to you like, hey, let's do a podcast. I was reaching out to your New Hampshire Expo page on Instagram. And then, lo and behold, it is the myth, man, and legend, Dan Kenney.
Oh, that's it. I mean, I'm just a regular guy. I've been in the industry a long time, and I started doing the trade shows in 2011 and 12. That was the first show that we did at the DCU Center in Worcester, and I had taken it over and bought it from the former owners, and they had kind of let the show, go downhill. They degraded it a lot by letting it a lot of flea market type vendors, home vendors, people that are selling trinkets and wares that as outdoorsmen, You go to an outdoorsman show and you just don't want to deal with any of that, what I call the garbage or the flea market stuff. There is a place for those type of vendors, but it's not at a true outdoors show. So I moved it for that reason to Boxborough, and then that helped me to rebuild the brand by just letting in quality vendors. And now over time, same thing with the New Hampshire show that's coming up. People have come to expect that when they come to the show, they're going to talk to people that represent major rod companies, major reel companies, major bow companies, gun companies. They're going to actually talk to the experts, optics companies. They're all going to be there. So, again, as an outdoorsman, that's why you go to the show, not only for the seminars, but you might have a question on a specific rod or a chatterbait rod, a spinnerbait rod, a jig rod. You might be in the market for those type of things, or even a reel. The Swimbait guys are pretty particular, but even people that the archery guys, as that example, it's where can you go? Sure, you can go to the archery company like Expo and go into their showroom and talk to them, and that's fine. But at an outdoor show, you get everything: kayaks, boats, archery, camping, hunting, guns. It's kind of like a candy land for the outdoorsman, and we try to have quality vendors, up and down the floor in every single aisle, and lodges and camps. So there's the places that you can also book a trip, which is nice. Go up, 3-day weekend in Maine, stay at a place that's a American plan, food system, like a Wheaton's Lodge, for example. That type of stuff, though. People actually come. It's interesting because, Matt, what I found out is that there's all kinds of customers and attendees, and some of them come to the show specifically to book their trip that they want to go to with their family or their friends, and they really don't care about anything else. Some people come to the show, believe it or not, just for the jerky. It's crazy, right? And then there's other people that come to the show for, like I said, they're in a new market for a rod or a reel or a bow or whatever. So you get all kinds of people, and then there's also the families that want to come, and typically Sundays is the family day, and that's where you see a lot of them. But you do get a lot of families at the shows too, because we do try to provide BB gun range, archery range, catching the trout, letting the kids do their activities as well, and getting them into the outdoors.
Yeah, it's it really is something for the whole family, and you don't have to be an active angler or hunter to enjoy it. Like you said, you can find your next vacation destination or outdoor adventure through one of the vendors there.
Yeah, and like, for example, I'm pretty excited about the New Hampshire one coming up, because you do have Export Archery there with 40 feet of archery supplies, and then near them is going to be Renaissance Arms, which is a major gun dealer in New Hampshire. And it's one of those deals where most guys probably have 10 more guns than their wives know about. So, I mean, it's pretty cool to be able to go there and check out all the models and talk to the experts, and also, sit in on the seminars. But even if you can't buy that new gun, new rod, new reel, new bow, whatever it is, new kayak this year, at least you can get all the information about it and kind of dream about it until you can afford it.
For sure. And, I got to personally thank you. I've had some really good experiences through, different rod makers or different, charters that are through people who I met at the shows.
Right.
Couple examples, Brian Coombs from Get Tight Sport Fishing.
Nice.
Met him at the Boxborough show. At his table, Jeff Klain was tying flies. Got to meet Jeff. Jeff made my fly rod, which I got to use this year. And then I've met, the guys from Crazy Hick and so on and so forth.
Oh, they're great. Jason from Crazy Hick. There's a perfect example. So, he's hustling. He's living the American dream. I mean, he's really crushing it locally, and it's a lot of work to make those baits.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of people don't realize it. It's, you're not going to be a multi-million-dollar business doing what he's doing, but it's the love, the passion, and the fact that, if he can make an extra 10, 15, 20 whatever that may be to supplement his family income, then that's a good thing. And guys like us, myself included, I run the show and I go over and buy a few bags here and there just because I'm a believer in, we all help each other.
Yeah, it's a great community. And I was talking to the folks over at 40 Up Tackle Company.
Yeah.
And, they admitted they're not, outdoors people themselves, but how much they respect the outdoor community, and they really got a sense of belonging and support, and realized how much of a tight-knit and welcoming community and supportive community it is.
It is, and it's good to see them back in action. I talked to them a little bit. I followed them when they first took over the company, and I started talking to them about, distributors and tackle stores, and I tried to give them, as many pointers as I knew about from being in the industry for a long time. So, and they really appreciated that, but that was really trying to be helpful to them, to give them a leapfrog, so to speak, in a hand up on, who do we deal with, and frankly, even who's difficult to deal with. So, kind of give them like the lay of the land from what I know, and yeah, it's a great company. It's good to see them back.
Where you seem to have some background in like advertising or marketing or sales. Were you in any of that before taking on the expos?
Yep, absolutely. That's actually how I landed on it. I've been in advertising, marketing. I worked in agencies, small and big, from Worcester to Boston, and I worked at TJX Corporate for 11 years in their in-house marketing services organization. And I've also worked for some great brands like Dexter Outdoors and New Balance. Did a fishing show, traveled around for a while, had a lot of fun doing that back in the day before everybody had a camera and GoPros and 16 mounts on their boat, and there's all these like star YouTubers out there now. But I like to look at it where I kind of was a little bit ahead of the curve. When I started, we had really heavy cameras, and we started on tape, and all kinds of audio problems and tape problems, and even doing this podcast, you can appreciate this, where you'd go to a place, spend money, spend time, and you might film something for 8 or 10 hours, and then if half the tape is corrupt, it's kind of a bummer, right?
Yeah.
Or you miss that big fish, or I've got so many stories where we did a great show down in the Keys, and we were catching Dorado and just dolphins and sharks, and we went over to the bridge, and we got the Goliath groupers. Well, on the way in, we took a wave, and it went over the whole camera bag, and the salt water got into the camera and into the SD card.
Oh no.
And we were able to salvage something, but it really ruined a lot of really good fish. So that type of stuff just bums you out, but it is what it is. It was a fun adventure. I really enjoyed doing it. But yeah, I came from a marketing background and was able to get hooked up with Davis Productions, and that's how I bought and took over the Worcester show. And then from there, just launched several other shows since then. Some you win, some you lose in different states. But that marketing background has definitely helped me in the outdoors industry with promoting the shows.
So you grew up hunting, fishing.
Yep.
And I'm assuming at some point, in growing up, you're like, how can I make this a profession? Or how can I integrate this into my profession? Was that ever on your mind going into taking on the expos and doing the YouTube channel, or did this just kind of happen organically?
Well, I was born in Maine, and I had my grandparents and one of my aunts had a house on Little Sebago, so definitely grew up with way more fishing than hunting, and then a couple of my uncles and cousins, as my cousins got older, that's where we, they had camps for hunting deer up in Maine and stuff. So, but I would say overall, percentage-wise, I've always been more like a 80% angler, 20% hunting. And that's just primarily, I've always gravitated more towards fishing, and had a great time doing it. So to envision Doing the shows, no, I never thought I would do shows. I never thought I'd run shows. I did, like I said, pick up the camera and a laptop and figure out how to, edit as best I could to do the fishing show. But then that transformed into running the shows. So it's a good feeling being in the outdoors industry, and just like anything, or even what you're doing, everything that you do, every interview you do, every person you meet, you're just going to continue to grow, and then you learn so many valuable lessons from others that help you be a better person, produce a better product, and ultimately, that's the end goal, is just to keep that network rolling, right?
Sure. And I was going to ask, where does that come from for you? I mean, it seems like it's kind of built into your values to want to support others and see other people succeed, especially in this outdoor community. Does that come from a particular place?
Other than, don't even know if I can really adequately answer that. Maybe Dr. Phil should have been here in this room. No, I've always just been kind of like a loving, caring, kind person. That's just how I was raised. Maybe I had 4 older sisters and a mom, so technically I had 5 moms. Maybe that's why they raised me right. And but yes, I've always cared for others, and I've just always been a really big believer in helping others. And part of what I do with the Expo is just a small peg in the wheel. But I guess, like in the Bible, and every story that you read about, and when you have faith and you grow that faith, it's like helping others and being kind to others can only mean good things. And those people will always remember that. So I always think about, how can I help this company? How can I help this person? How can I help them be better, do better? And how is that a bad thing, right?
Of course, yeah, definitely not a bad thing.
Yeah.
But, it's probably pretty wonderful to integrate it into a passion you have as well.
Right.
That being fishing and hunting and
right,
everything that's outdoors.
Yeah, it's just it's really easy to be negative, and especially on social media and everything you see nowadays. It's easy to jump on the bandwagon and criticize people and kind of put down their product or put down their company. And I've always tried to be the opposite of that. I always try to uplift people and talk good about their product and talk good about them. And it just makes you, when you go to bed at night, you just feel that you've made a positive impact on somebody's business or life. And, I guess that's really the only thing I can say about that is that I really enjoy helping others, and it makes you kind of smile when you look back and you see that someone you might have helped or been impressionable on, and they're doing fairly well in business, and you just like to be like, okay, that was cool, because I remember when they just started out and they were crying and they had problems and they were upset about this, that, or the other thing, and then you fast forward 5 years and they're like, hey, we're doing pretty good now.
Yeah, and they're probably going to quit, without any encouragement at the beginning, right? No, that's great, man. I guess where we can take it next is you briefly touched on it, the YouTube channel.
Yep.
Tell us kind of what you saw the trend being on YouTube and why you jumped on it, and what the name of your page is, so people can go take a look.
Well, yeah, if they want to get some giggles, they can go to Go Fish Dan. You just Google Go Fish Dan, GOFASDHAN, GOFISHDAN. Wow, I screwed that up. Go Fish Dan. So a lot of people think that it's goldfish, and I say no, it's Go Fish Dan. But I didn't even start on YouTube. I started at the local town hall. They had a cable access channel, and I went up there to volunteer. And I started volunteering with them on filming sports or little like hokey newscast about the community and that type of stuff. And then I got the bright idea. I said, hey, I can take one of these cameras, and when I go fishing, I can just film myself or my buddies, and we can start, So that's really how it started, is that we took a camera that probably weighed 40 pounds, no joke, and just went out on fishing adventures. And then as time went on, technology got better, and then more and more people were on YouTube. So I was like, well, I've got these shows that I did. I might as well post them up on YouTube. But I did have some good sponsors, and I actually was on the Spectrum Network, and they aired the show every Saturday, and they did reruns on Tuesday. And then I grew it to a point where they were airing it on Saturday and Sunday. So I had enough shows made that the network would run them for 52 weeks, and I had sponsors that had commercials in them and everything. So
All right.
yeah, so that was pretty cool. I had some really good sponsors over the years, and but then it's it's a lot of work. And what really happened is I still tinker with it, and I'll go out and film a couple of clips this year, and I'll make a few 3-minute clips, but I'm not producing like full shows anymore because the expo business really has me super busy. And then fast forward to now, I'm helping my son with the tackle store, and Ben's Tackle Shack is also keeping me busy. So just not enough time to do the fishing shows, and you partner that with the fact that everybody, their brother and their cousin, is now filming YouTube shows on, and they're all rock stars and they're all fishing heroes, and I just kind of was like, all right, I've had my fun. I'm just gonna kind of enjoy myself and move on to different things.
Sure. And how you've seen technology and everything influence like the the virtual industry that is like hunting and fishing videos, that's on YouTube. Have you seen any trends in terms of technology or types of businesses or business opportunities in the outdoor sphere in the past decade or so? Something maybe you didn't see before, but you're seeing a lot of now, new areas for growth, things like that.
Technology is just crazy. I mean, if you think about it, you can go out and film a full-blown production with you and 3 buddies on 4 iPhones, and it can air on National Geographic or the Pursuit Channel or if you think about that, that's crazy.
Of course.
Right? I mean, the quality is that good that you literally can air it on a mainstream TV station by filming on your iPads or iPhones, and so from that point of view, that's pretty cool. I guess the difficult part, so technology has been great for that, but the difficult part from a brand or a company's point of view is now you've got 10,000 guys coming at you for sponsorships just nonstop, because a lot of people have gotten good at filming shows and doing videos.
Sure.
So then from a company's perspective, it's like, okay, who am I going to invest in? Who's good at doing this? And at the end of the day, they just care about their sales, right? So, and from the technology point of view, with some of these, I'll say YouTubers too, is that it's kind of watered down the whole pro staff sponsor game, where they've degraded or devalued the industry in a sense where everything is so fast, and you just see these things on social media nonstop, day in and day out, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, the whole nine, and there's all these quick little clips, so the attention span isn't there for these people to sit down and watch a 30-minute show or a 1-hour program or a documentary, unless it's obviously really, really good and really well produced. So think Netflix or whatever, right? So so that type of stuff technology's been great, but it's also made it very hard for these same people to get sponsors, retain sponsors, because there's just so much content out there.
It's almost saturated in a way.
Yeah, and then you have to decide, okay, what am I gonna watch? Like we're sitting at the tackle store right now. I could put on YouTube and just go for days and days and days, and just it'll just show one fishing video after another.
Yeah, true. True. What about in terms of like technology as it's influenced like hard materials? Like, are you seeing a specific type of lure makers now that you didn't see before? Are you seeing different types of outdoor opportunities now compared to before?
Oh yeah, definitely. That's another thing with this whole networking, from the expos, but with the technology factor, brands that had a more difficult time. Let's just say a little jig company or a fly. You mentioned a fly company. The guy Tied You flies locally, but a fly company, in Iowa, we'll say. So some guy that's really, really good, but he was just doing it in his basement, and the only people that knew about him were people in his town.
Mm-hmm.
And now with social media, it's like, oh my goodness, this guy makes the best stuff ever, and all of a sudden he's a household name.
Right.
So from that point of view, technology has been fantastic for those people. Social media has really blown up a lot of companies for the good, because they have a great product and it's given them a source to get that product out there. And of course the big boys benefit a lot from it too, because they have, I'm sure their sales continue to climb, because when you see somebody, fishing with that specific brand rod over and over and over and over, and they just beat you over the head with it, it's like, oh, I think I'll try one of those.
Sure. But nothing really can replace, in my opinion, the in-person expo and interaction with people who are actually making the thing, and seeing the person behind it. I think means a lot, at least to me as the end user.
Absolutely, you still, and that's why the expos. You get a lot of people that'll make a comment like, well, we really didn't want to go to the expo. We could just go to Cabela's. It's like, well, yeah, you can, but you can't have the owner of FX Custom Rods talk to you about all of his blanks and how each one is different and what specific, species you should target with that rod, right?
Yeah.
So there's a difference.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and there's, what is the term they're saying now? Things coming, reshoring, the concept of reshoring. A lot of industry and manufacturing that was done overseas is actually coming back to the U.S.
That's great.
For example, talking with 40 Up just the other day, a lot of the parts that they make in their tool shop, their their supply is, not keeping up with the demand because there's the reshoring, which is a great problem to have. And I think we're going to see that in the outdoor industry too.
Right.
Are there any companies that people should keep an eye out for, that not necessarily are going to be like spearheading the reshoring, but these are companies that are making products that are just as good, if not better, than the stuff that might be getting mass produced overseas? Stuff maybe made in New England or at least in the States.
Well, Somatis Baits is a guy that you'll see at the shows too. Now he makes soft plastics and jigs. Crazy Hick is the one that we already talked about. So there's companies like that. Fresh Baits is another local company. Those are all like soft plastics guys, pretty much. That come to, so they are making them here, hustling, working in their warehouse or their basement.
Yeah.
So there's guys like that, and then there's rod companies like Doomsday, Cash and Rods, FX Rods. Those guys are all from down south, but they're making great rods. And I know Cash and just did this whole campaign where they just launched these Element rods, and it's all made in their factory in North Carolina.
Cool.
So that's, they're supporting American, they're creating American jobs, and yeah, that's a big thing. I really can't speak that much to the gun manufacturers because of the laws in the world we live in. I mean, they could be made in Czech Republic and Yugoslavia and Russia and America and obviously overseas in China, Indonesia, and Japan and everywhere else. So, that's where, hopefully we'll get to a point where, you got Smith & Wesson, you got Sig Sauer, you got Springfield, and you got Colt. Off the top of my head, you might know a couple more, but I mean, at least those are still all made here.
Right. Yeah, and then you get Woodman Arms up in Maine, leading the muzzle loader side.
Yep.
But you're right, legislation does, make a big impact on things. I believe Springfield moved out of Mass.
Yeah.
If I heard that correctly.
Smith & Wesson moved just last year.
Yeah. So,
but they're still in the country.
Right.
I want to say Tennessee. I believe.
Yeah, I'm not entirely sure, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'd love to see New England, be a little bit more welcoming to, for two-way related things.
Yeah. I mean, I mean, I'm sure you're going to do a lot of podcasts about that and about, 2A and gun advocates. And it's getting more and more difficult, especially when you live, like say in Massachusetts and New York. I mean, it's the two toughest states. And I mean, we can go on and on about that. And I know that we're in agreement because we're both outdoorsmen, but it's just ludicrous to think that, you're infringing on my rights and what I need to do in my home, where here I am, a regular, hardworking American guy that has never hurt anybody in my life, has never done anything bad, anything illegal. I've never caused any problems for anybody. I'm certainly not going to go rob a bank or a grocery store.
Yeah, right.
But then the mentality is that I am, even though I'm not. And then you have people that are just thugs and gangbangers and and for them to actually feel, I don't know how they process that in their head. I really don't, that those people are going to obey the law, turn in their weapons, come to the police station and say, you know what, I'm sorry that I have this. I'm going to give it back to you. It's crazy.
Yeah.
Right. But we don't need to go down that whole road.
Yeah. But no, I think most people listen to this, plus you and I have a shared thought on that for sure. Kind of bringing it back to the expo and local business, I think a lot of legislation doesn't keep in mind that that's going to affect a whole community. That's going to affect the whole economy.
Right.
Taking away, a semi-automatic shotgun,
Right.
for example, is going to affect the whole community of guides and outdoorsmen and sales at stores for ammunition and firearms. It's a way bigger impact than I think that they understand when they're trying to pass this legislation.
Oh, absolutely. And I probably didn't give you a great answer because I'm thinking back, backpedal a little bit when you're talking about technology changing. So technology has been great, and I'll say it's been great for the YouTubers, it's great for the marketers, it's great for people that are building a brand and trying to make money. So for all those things, it's really great. The flip side of that is the companies that no longer have to support guys like me and you because they've got, where I was going with that thought is they've got these pro staffers who will run through burning brick buildings for them to get 10% off of you name it,
Right.
off of a fly rod, off of a fishing rod, off of a reel. So that's the downside of technology where companies, and I've seen that just in my short time when I was doing the TV show, the YouTube, and then it was just so much harder to obtain sponsorship. Not that it's not still out there, but they've got 1,000 guys lining up to do it for free, day in and day out, tagging their company, hashtagging them, doing reviews, showing the product, doing videos, and they're literally doing it so that they can save $20, which is, think what you want of that, but it's, again, that's the part that I was trying to articulate earlier. That's kind of devalued the whole system where, it used to mean something to say your podcast is sponsored by Browning.
Sure.
Right? They used to be like, oh my goodness, that guy's a big deal.
Mm-hmm.
And now it's just like, you could kind of say that just by sending an email to them, and they send you an email back and say, oh yeah, you're on the team.
Right. Yeah. No, I believe in staying local and, building the local team, that way,
Right.
because you're right. The big companies, they're going to buy in, anglers are bought and sold and they're on TV by the big names. I think it means more to have a local connection
Right.
with people and utilize good products that are close to us and, try to get their name out there versus, just trying to be part of, company A, B, and C who you see all over Walmart and Cabela's.
Right. And, Matt, one thing, too, that I wanted, just thinking about the outdoor shows. So another reason why I do it, and I wanted to make sure that I get this, is what you were just talking about, the family aspect of all of us outdoorsmen sticking together. So when I run the show, it really makes me smile to look down on the floor, but also after hours. you've got all of these companies and all of these like-minded people that are just having a good time together. Just networking, helping each other, breaking bread together. And you can't get that on your phone or your laptop.
No, you can't.
You can't get that community of you showing up at the New Hampshire show, talking to 100 companies who now know who you are. They now liked your page, your Instagram. They now follow you. And then not only that, they want to help you.
Right.
So all of these vendors are hanging out for days, and they've become a family. And that part of the show that's why I don't think shows are going to die, because people are hungry for that. They really like to hang out. Yeah, sure, everybody likes to have a good time, but you're really trying to grow and network your business, and we provide the format for them to do so.
Yeah, it really is a great experience. Let's talk about the shows a little bit.
Yep.
So the Boxborough show.
Yep.
The full name of the show in Boxborough again?
New England Fishing Expo.
How long? And you said that's been going on since 12?
At Boxborough since 14.
Okay, great.
Yeah.
How'd this year's show go? What were some highlights?
Good. Oh, it was jamming. Highlights are always the crowds that come and the attendees, because we couldn't do it without them. But we got the Bass Tank in there. There's a lot of good seminar speakers. Brian Coombs, you mentioned. He did a seminar each day in the seminar room. We have guys up in the Bass Tank doing certain techniques or, education. So on a certain, a certain lure, a certain product, how to fish it, whatever. And we even have, we use that Bass Tank for even saltwater guys. So they can show someone how to do like a slow pitch setup or whatever. I don't do the fly fishing component at my show because part of the not part of the reason, the main reason is because Ben, whom I don't know, but he runs a fly fishing show in Marlboro, and that's been going on forever.
Yeah, I'm familiar with that one. I didn't know if you were in connection with that or not.
No, I don't even know. I don't know the guy, but I didn't want to step on his toes, and I made this decision years ago when I started my show. I figured, you know what? He's already got a fly fishing show established, so I'm not going to have fly fishing at my show. Not because I don't like it, not because people couldn't benefit from it, but we're kind of like neighbors. So his show's in Marlboro, mine's in Boxborough. We're very close on the show calendar, and it just goes back to, one of the principles that I really believe in is you just, do unto others as you would want done to you. And I'm thinking, I don't know this guy, Ben, but I would be pretty upset if another guy came in and said, hey, I'm going to do fly fishing at my show 2 weeks after your show, So for those reasons, I just, and I've also talked to everybody for years and sent fly fishing companies to his show that called my show. So I'm sure that when we meet, he's probably going to shake my hand and say thank you, and I'll and we'll be buddies, right?
Sure.
Because of making that one little decision of not having to fly stuff at my show. And I've even done that with other shows in other areas. So, trying to be mindful to not step on someone else's toes.
Gotcha. So that show's every February, if I remember correctly.
That the fly show is January. The Boxborough New England Fishing Expo is the last weekend in January. New Hampshire one is the middle of March.
Gotcha. So let's talk about New Hampshire. That's at the Dome.
Yep.
Which I believe is Milford, yeah?
Milford, New Hampshire at the Hampshire Dome. It's 34 Emerson Road in Milford, New Hampshire. It's kind of like it's a bubble. And it's, my first impression was kind of like, I don't know if this is going to work. But it's really got a cool vibe. So they do field hockey, soccer, and gymnastics, and
I grew up playing lacrosse in there.
Okay, lacrosse, exactly.
Yep.
So you know it. But it's got a great field that's comfortable on your feet for my vendors, And then it's got this like warm ambient lighting that kind of comes from the ceiling. It's, which makes it really cool. So that part of it has been, really interesting with getting vendors on board with doing a show in a bubble instead of in a convention hall or something, right?
Yeah.
So,
And that's the 10th through the 12th?
that is March 10th through the 12th at the Hampshire Dome. Yep. And you're going to have to come up there because that's a show unlike my fishing show. So my New England Fishing Expo is all fishing. The New Hampshire Outdoor Expo is kayaks, boats, camping, hiking, archery, guns, fishing, you name it. If you can do it in the outdoors, we're going to have someone there or products there or seminars there about that. And that's what separates it from the New England Fishing Expo. Then the Swimbait Expo, again, that's just strictly swim baits. So
how long has that been going on for? Because I didn't know about that till I
yeah,
spoke
this will
with
be
you
the
other
second
day.
year. We just launched it last year. This will be the second year. And just it's kind of like a niche market. Of course, the swim bait guys are crazy. They're very rabid in about what they do.
Oh, yeah.
And it's a really cool community. So it's a smaller show because it's a segment of the fishing industry. So we decided to do a show in the swim bait community and get all those people there. We had a really good, successful first year show. This one's at the Sturbridge Host Hotel March 18th and 19th. But, you may not be in the swim baits and therefore you're not going to come to that show, and that's okay. But people who are going to be like, oh, this is awesome.
Yeah, I've never been. I'm just getting, dipping my toes into the swim bait world, but
Right.
I'm looking forward to seeing what local companies are around and what
Yeah.
people have to offer.
Yeah, and it's, I guess, you mentioned that you're a fly guy, so it'd be similar to, a fly guy may not go to a swim bait show, but a swim bait show guy is not going to go to a fly show. And that's okay.
Right.
It's just different segments of the fishing industry, right? So, but the swim bait guys really are passionate about what they do. It's all about throwing big baits. They're all custom made. They're really cool, shiny, sparkles, the whole nine. And what's cool about the swim bait guys is that they've got a really cool, chill vibe about them, but also they don't mind spending like crazy money for these lures. I'm talking anywhere from $25 to like $1,000.
Yeah, I've heard that.
Like no
I've heard
problem. So it's that part of it is like pretty cool because even myself, I do have a couple of swim baits that, are a couple $100, and think about snapping those off.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't want it.
No.
You can't even think about that's like losing a gun in the woods or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Not good.
All right, so give us the dates again for New Hampshire,
March 10th through the 12th, New Hampshire in the Dome.
and then the
Swim bait one
bait.
is March 18th and 19th at the Sturbridge Host Hotel. It's the weekend after.
All right.
Yep.
And let's talk about where we're at now. I failed to mention that at the beginning. We're at Ben's Tackle Shack out here in
Yep.
Leicester, Mass.
Yes, that's my son is Ben, and he's kind of got the entrepreneurial spirit like I did. So we didn't really touch on that, but I was doing really well at TJX Corporate in marketing, and then I went to Davis Advertising and worked there for a few years. So I tell people this because it's okay to take a risk and it's okay to jump off the cliff. It hasn't been all sunshine and lollipops, but I left a job that I was getting like paid very well and had good benefits and had really good vacation time. But I left it for the outdoors industry and to jump on the expos while I was doing the Go Fish Dan at the same time. And yeah, the first few years definitely made a lot less money, but I was really doing what I wanted to do and I was passionate about it and I was having a lot of fun. So money isn't everything. You have to kind of go with your heart. Like they say, follow your heart. So I did. Now my son, Ben, graduated from UMass Lowell in 21, and he went to school for business, the Manning School of Business, and also took marketing there. So kind of chip off the old block. And we were at the kitchen table one day, and we're just talking, and we're throwing around the idea of the tackle store, and he said these words that I can't remember exactly how he said it, but he was like, "Dad, I don't want to go sit in someone's office for 10 hours a day."
Yeah.
And that kind of resonated with me because I have been there, done that. You work in agencies, you work in corporate structures, you're there for 10, 12 hours, sometimes 8 hours, but I mean, you're committed to the job. So I kind of was like, all right, let's give the tackle store a go. So that's how Ben's Tackle Shack came about, is that we just started it because he wanted to try to make a go of it and be successful. And, we've been here 2 years. We've been doing good at it. And it's been a lot of fun. We've met a lot of great people. A little bit different than what I do with the expos, meaning, I deal with vendors whom I've become family and friends with, and we know them all. And they're really good companies. And here, when you're in retail, you don't know who's walking through the door.
The expos are big for like getting local business and
Right.
getting local companies in, and I'm assuming Ben's is another area for you to, to take in some of those goods from New England companies and sell them here to the general public.
Absolutely. So back to the networking. I've networked with all these guys, and when we opened the store, I was able to, based on doing the expos, I was able to pick the brands that we wanted to have in the store, and I knew either the owner of the company or the vice president of sales or the area rep, and because they're all in my contacts, so I was able to just say we need to order XYZ, and now Ben is, he's kind of taken a lot of the ordering responsibilities, and he's really good at the inventory responsibilities. So that's all like the computer stuff, the spreadsheets, knowing what sold, what did, and that's kind of like his deal.
Mm-hmm.
So that's also worked out really well here at the tackle store, where I was kind of the face in the introduction in the fishing industry to all the right contacts, and then Ben is kind of the guy that knows all of the ins and outs on the computer and the point of sale system and the, we need to order this, we don't need to order that.
Nice.
So it's worked out well.
Perfect. Yeah, that's got to mean a lot to him to have your support too, because I think some parents would be like, no, you're gonna go work the trenches, man.
Yeah.
Like, do the entrepreneurial thing after you get, but it's great to hear that you're willing to give him the push and support him in something that is kind of untraditional for somebody coming straight out of college.
Yeah, and also we didn't even touch about this, and I don't even know if you know about it, but he's also found a love of doing disc golf. So he's
right
really into disc golf. So guess what? Chip off the old block. Lo and behold, he's running a disc golf expo.
No way.
So he's learned the expo business from me, and now he's doing a disc golf expo with all the disc golf companies, the popular players, the popular brands. And I really can't speak to all of those, but I know that he's really in that network. And so now he's running the tackle store with me, and now he's running the Northeast Disc Golf Expo. And that's going to be at the Boxborough Regency March 18th and 19th. And he's done really well. Like I said, he's got all the top brands there already. So that's pretty cool.
That's incredible.
Yeah. So he's learned, he's learned that part of the business already just in a short couple of years. And, it's been really great to see that and to see the growth, and he's going to keep learning. And then as a dad, it makes you feel good kind of, because I can openly admit this. It's like I see him and I'm like, he's going to do it even better than I did. I said, he's just, whether his IQ is 20 points higher or not, I don't know, but he's on it.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I kind of fumbled my way through a lot of things, made a little bit of successes of this and a mess of that. And then I'm kind of seeing what he's doing, and I'm like, he's going to do it better than me.
Yeah, well, you set the foundation for him at the very least. So
Yeah.
that's great. Tell people where Ben's Tackle is and kind of hours of operation if they're in the area.
Ben's Tackle Shack is 1103 Main Street in Leicester, right past the center of town. It's right across from Country Bank and right next to Dunkin' Donuts. And the hours are a tough thing to answer, but I will say this. From April 1st to Columbus Day, we are open 6 to 6, 7 days a week. During the ice season, it fluctuates based on when we have ice. So we could be here on the weekend at 5 a.m. We might stay late on a Friday night for the ice fishermen when we do have good ice, which we've had a horrible year this year, but that's a side note. And, so in general terms, you go to Google or Facebook, our store hours are already updated, but for the most part, April through Columbus Day will be open 6 to 6.
And we'll see you and Ben at the New Hampshire Expo?
Ben will be at the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo with, and that's another thing is I'll give him a little pat on the back where I don't have to deal with this. He's you can see it behind you. I know the listeners can't see it, but he's already shrink wrapping all the product and he boxes it up, and he's responsible for bringing everything to the show that we need to sell. And that's
Yeah.
all. That's his deal. All the inventory, all the products, getting it all up there. And I run the show, and now because of Ben's Tackle Shack, he's able to get that up there and benefit from being at the show. And we didn't touch on this either, Matt, but I will say this. Tackle Supply Depot was a huge retail store in Connecticut, huge bass tournament tackle store. And they were going downhill and then out of business about the time that Ben's opened. So here I am running the show. Tackle Supply Depot came every single year faithfully with a 50-foot space, and they brought everything that you need to bring. I mean, they brought all the good stuff, all the eye candy, right? So I'm starting to hear that they're closing. And about that time, like I said, give or take a couple months, because I can't remember the exact time stamp, but we started this store.
Incredible.
So I was like, well, I'm not going to call another tackle company and ask them to set up at my shows that I run. So I'm like, Ben, guess what?
Yeah, on a silver platter.
You're setting up at shows. And we have. We're 2 years in now of doing shows, and that's helped us as well.
Great. Yeah, what Dan was mentioning for the people listening, pretty much everything that you're going to see or not everything, but majority of the booth setup is already, stocked up, all the racks and everything, and shrink wrapped, ready to just be transported and set up. So
yep,
the man's
26
proactive.
foot. Yeah, 26-foot U-Haul. Ben's got everything ready to go, and but that has been a blessing too, where the shows, just to touch on vendors that go to shows and do well, ourselves included. We had a terrible ice fishing year, and we didn't make a lot of money at the store because locally we barely had ice, right? But we were able to go to the trade show, the New England Fishing Expo, and then you make hay there that makes up a little bit for the money that you lost here because there was no ice.
Sure.
So if we weren't able to be in that position where Ben's Tackle Shack could do the trade shows, we would have really been hurting at this storefront location, right? Because we just didn't have a good ice season. And even like you talked about the 40 up people, Heritage Tackle, Jack Traps, Indian Hills, another one. You name all the people that make the traps, right? When you have no ice, kind of puts a downer on buying tip ups, right?
Yeah.
So
it's a pretty straight up equation there.
Yeah. So it's, hopefully all we can hope for is that next year is a better year.
Yeah. I mean, not a lot of advice, but it makes me kind of more excited to buy traps and prep to next year. So before I leave, I'm getting a couple 40 ups before I get out of here.
It's and I told people this, and I'm sure that they would agree. One of the selling points of the 40 ups is for the money. It's a great tip up.
They're high quality.
Yeah.
I mean, I saw them yesterday. I mean, there's the two models, and even the basic model, it's high quality. It's going to last you a while,
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm looking forward to adding it to the arsenal.
You'll get 20 years out of them. Yep.
I think they're saying to me that people are sending in some traps that their uncle or dad had bought in like the 70s from the
Right.
original, and they just need a little bit of touch up, and they're happy
Right.
to refurbish them too. So
Yeah.
they're high quality stuff.
You'll get 20 years out of them, maybe more. And when I say that, meaning, hey, my goodness, for the cost of them, 20 years, and then you have to replace the spool. Like, really?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and it's a reshored product, right? This isn't coming on a shipping container from overseas. This is made
Right.
within 20, 25 miles from here. So
Right.
it's incredible. And I think there's something to it, using something local to catch something local.
Right.
It's just it adds a couple pounds to the bass,
Right.
So
One thing I wanted to say too, Matt, is that speaking about the New Hampshire show, and you hunt more than I do, but speaking about being juiced about hunting trips, so you get to talk to guys from like North Carolina that do like, whitetail or black bear or turkey hunting down south,
yeah.
which is different than up here, right? And I don't mean hunting the deer and harvesting them is different, but I mean it's a different part of the country.
Yeah, different terrain, different everything.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So that part of it is pretty cool when you can, like learn from them, or even just say, you know what, next year I think I'll go to North Carolina and shoot a deer,
Sure.
right? I mean, why not? So that type of stuff is cool, that you get to meet people from, New Brunswick, Canada, from Maine, from New Hampshire, Vermont, New York. Those are the states. And then I do have people from down south like Tennessee, North Carolina, those type of hunting outfits too. And fishing, of course.
It's one of my favorite times of the year, honestly. So I'm looking forward to going. We're gonna get this released, prior to that. So hopefully people listening can take some time to get out to the Dome in New Hampshire for the New Hampshire Expo. Dan, when you're not here, when you're not at the expos, what do you got planned for this year? Any good fishing trips? Any tournaments you're gonna be doing?
I do tournaments. Ben's Tackle Shack has our own tournament trail. We run 7 tournaments, and maybe 8, but we do 7 for sure. We've already got them permitted. We have a very good crew that comes. They're all opens. So I'll be fishing some of those. I also belong to the American Eagle Bass Anglers, which is a club that we have about probably 18 to 25 boats show up at all of those tournaments. And so I'll be busy doing some tournament fishing, and just regular fishing every single year, like clockwork, being from Maine, being born in Maine, having all my relatives from Maine. I've always fished Maine top to bottom, so I will definitely be up there at least 6 or 7 times between, April and November for some type of a fishing outing.
Sure.
And like I said, I just don't get the time to hunt. I mean, now that my kids are a little bit older, I'm I'd like to say, well, I think it's time to pick up the bow again.
Yes.
But it's been, well, it's a lot of time. It's a lot of time in the woods, a lot of
prep
setting
work,
up the
yeah.
Exactly. So that's one thing that we didn't really touch on, but I had to raising 3 boys. Some things had to give.
Sure.
Right. So, archery, hunting, that was just one thing that was kind of like a no-brainer. Is I loved fishing more, and I can say that because I do. Not that I didn't enjoy hunting, but when you don't have the time to do it right, that kind of bothered me, and I fell into a pattern of a couple years of not doing it right and not prepping and not being in the mindset. So I just was like, you know what? I'll have to take it up again when my kids are older. And now
Let's
they're
do
older.
it.
Yeah.
The time is now, Dan.
That's it.
Oh, that'll be. I'd love to see on your Instagram page you with something on the ground this fall.
Oh yeah. If
All
it's
right.
brown, it's down.
All right, don't let us down, man. No, that's great to hear. And my kid's only 2, but you bring up a good point. I'm learning it now. You definitely got to sacrifice things, for the better of the family. But the fact that you stuck with the fishing and everything, is great. And I'm sure clearly, Ben took it, took it
Yeah.
running, and it's probably a joy to have seen them kind of evolve in the outdoor sphere and as gentlemen, throughout the years.
Oh yeah, it's been great, and we had a good time, and I mean, God has really been good to us and blessed our family, and I wouldn't change anything that I've done. I wouldn't change leaping off and trying something new. And like I touched on, I've certainly made a whole lot less money, but I really have enjoyed what I'm doing for basically the past 14 years now, or whatever. I don't know. You do the math. 2011. That's when I jumped off the cliff.
Sure.
So,
figuratively speaking.
right.
Yeah. I mean, personally here, and I'm sure other people listening, we, I think we're all thankful you took that leap, to bring these expos to us, because it's only enriched my life, and I know all the local businesses and all the these American jobs are supported by it. So I guess I'll speak for majority of people who've been to the expos and people listening. We can't thank you enough for taking that leap.
Yeah, and you should probably. What if this is just a thought? And I'll put you on the spot, but probably a good opportunity for you to set up a table, and you could do. How many interviews can you do from Friday to Sunday?
This is the salesman I knew about.
See what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You could set up at the show, and probably knock off 35 episodes Friday to Sunday. Just drink 8 gallons of coffee, and tell your wife and kid that you'll see him on Monday.
It's not a bad idea, but no, I gotta commend you for the offer, and sounds like there's some booths available, but probably a slim number, knowing how big that show gets.
So I do have space and I always have space leading right up to the show, because another thing is that the reason that I have space is I'm very selective on the vendors too.
Sure.
Like I said, I am all about helping people, but I can't have a fly by night company that's not really a company. So, you know what I mean? It's like it's these have to be legitimate companies that are trying to make a go of it in the outdoor industry. And one of the reasons that I'm not full at that show right now, I mean, I'd probably I'm probably like 90% full. So
It's incredible.
Yeah, so 80,000 square feet. But if I let in all the people selling like widgets and whatever, then yeah, I could tomorrow I could have it like every nook and cranny full. But again, you come to the show and there's a guy yelling at you to buy some type of a tablecloth or something. It's like,
yeah, or like setting up a flea market.
Or they're just yelling at can I clean your jewelry? That type of stuff. It's like, no, those people I don't allow in, because they don't belong at an outdoor show.
Right, and it takes away the opportunity from somebody who is in the outdoor industry.
And they all call me. Believe me, I probably get 50 calls from companies that are not even in the industry. They just want to be there because I'm bringing people to the show.
Mm-hmm.
But their product, I really have to vet them. I have conversations with them. I find out what the product is. And anybody who calls me, like I just had a call today. First question, the guy called up my phone. I picked it up. How you doing? I'm interested in the New Hampshire Outdoor Expo. First thing, what is your product? What are you planning on bringing? And he told me, and I was like, sorry, sir, this is an outdoor show. I'm not going to mention it because it is a name that people would recognize, but it's an outdoor show, and no, you can't come.
Sure.
So
that's respectable, honestly is. If somebody is, so whether it's us doing a podcast there or another company who would like to set up a booth at any of your expos, how should people go about doing that?
It's right on the website. So it's NH as in New Hampshire, NHOutdoorExpo.com. And it's as simple as that. Under exhibitor information, there's a exhibitor layout, there's a floor plan, there's the people who will be appearing, and there's a contract that you simply have to just download the PDF, fill it out, and you scan it and send it back to me.
Great.
So yeah, it's pretty easy to find the contract. It's pretty easy to fill it out. And yeah, but we're looking forward to it. I mean, I could list the show, we have, because I don't want to scare people away by saying we're not full, because we're 90% full, but it's huge. But we have good companies.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that's what I mean. We have
It's my favorite show.
we have MGC fishing tackle there, which has like a 30 by 30 foot space of like everything you can imagine, right? But then you have the rod companies there, the real, like I said, the boat companies, the rod. So those guys are all there, and the manufacturers are there, and the mom and pop guys are there. So it's quality, and the amount of vendors that are there is certainly enough for you to spend a few hours, walking around talking to them.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
So, and you don't have to deal with any of the stuff that you don't want to see at a real show.
Yeah, I was at a show recently, and I was like, how did this company end up here?
Right.
They're soliciting me for my business, and I'm looking at their booth, and I'm like, I don't see a lure or a antler anywhere over here. Like, how
Right.
did, so.
Well, the solar companies that, I will use them but I won't mention the name, but that's, oh my goodness, I get, 15 solar companies that want to set up and tell people that they need solar. Regardless of how you feel about clean energy and solar, it doesn't matter. Like, I don't want, I am stuttering because it's like, no, we're outdoorsmen.
Yeah,
Like,
it's not the time or the place for it, for
we don't
solar.
want we don't want to be pitched on why I should put solar on my roof.
Yeah, tell me how to get bass in the boat,
Exactly.
Oh, that's great. Dan, anything you want to touch on before we wrap things up?
No, this has been great, and we're at the Ben's Tackle Shack in the office. Sorry if you did hear the heat come on during
I
the
love
podcast.
it. It's authentic.
Yeah, I heard that come on. It was like buzzing.
But no, I mean, I think that's I like the authentic piece. We're going to the brick and mortar spots, and we're
Right.
and
Who do you got lined up next?
so we're gonna release this pretty soon. Then right after that, there'll be an episode with 40 Up. I'm gonna get the guys from Huntstock on soon.
Nice.
Hunt Suburbia, and I finally got to meet Trevor Berwick, who's part of the Outdoor Drive. They're out of Connecticut.
Yep.
So
I said hi to him on Friday.
Sure, yeah.
Yeah.
They had mentioned they had saw you. So those are a few guys who I want to get on immediately, and then I'm still working on a couple other companies. I really would love to have Al's Goldfish on, and
Mandy and Jeff.
yeah,
Yep.
and then Jason from Crazy Hick, and get to meet some other companies as well.
See, and that's where you can. If you go to the show, you'll grab all those cards, but also just hit me up. I've got all those people in my contacts. I can set you up with all those companies with their name, their email, website, whatever. Speaking about Trevor, another example, right? Like when he came to a show I ran, I think 3 years ago, maybe even 4 now. Just a young kid, didn't know anything basically about, but he wanted to do the podcast, and so I sat down with him and did a little 10-minute interview with him at one of the shows I was running, and to see where that show has grown to is pretty impressive. But I'm telling you right now, because he was when he first started, he was just kind of like, I'm Trevor, and I'm going to do a show. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he was passionate, but still trying to feel out the niche.
Like how he's going to do it, and is it going to work? And rightfully so. I remember he had all of the thoughts that anybody starting out in a small little business would have. What am I doing? Is it going to be successful? How do I do this? Who do I talk to? So that's funny you mentioned it, because now, and I haven't seen their followers now, but I know they've definitely grown to a pretty good size.
Getting big. They're getting big. Yeah. They just their YouTube alone over, they're coming up on 2,000 subscribers, and
Right.
they have a season out right now. That's great. They're putting bucks on the ground, and they're going to release some turkey episodes just in time for turkey season. So, and these are the kind of guys, we want to connect with and promote and kind of help spread their message.
Yeah, there's a lot of good podcasts out there. And are you going to be doing the Spotify thing?
Yep, this will be released on Spotify and YouTube, and then we'll start branching out to other platforms. Yeah, so people will be listening to this before the New Hampshire Expo. We hope to see everybody there. Dan, thank you again very much for taking the time.
No, it's been really great, Matt. Come to the show, get a bunch of cards, network. That's what it's about, and then pretty soon you'll have 10,000 subscribers.
We'll see. We'll get you on. We'll get you on when that comes, and hopefully, we'll be monetized and be able to put each other up somewhere nice and have a dinner or something. But
I'll be your 1257th episode.
Perfect. All right, everyone. Dan Kenney. You'll see him at the New Hampshire Expo March 10th at the Dome. Thanks for listening. And next episode, you're going to meet Carrie and Nate from 40 Up Tackle. And keep listening. We got some really good guests coming up, and we're going to keep this going. And we thank you for listening and supporting the channel. Take care. Good luck out there, and be safe. Bye-bye.